I have transferred the screen over to you. Thank you so much for taking the time and present for our virtual group. And this session is recorded. Hi, Jimmy, can you hear me?
Jimmy, you probably need to check your microphone. Click the computer audio or something. The sounds check.
Hey, Jimmy, are you there? I can see you sign in, but we cannot hear you.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, he said he can hear, but yeah, we cannot hear him. Okay. Jimmy, you probably need to check the right side on the top that have a sounds check. If you're using the mic, are you using the microphone is under is kind of the iPhone's microphone or regulars? Because iPhone's microphone cannot use into the Windows, so you have to double check or using others.
Hey, Jimmy, if you still have trouble, maybe you can rejoin.
Yeah.
Yeah, log off and rejoin. And if you're still on the road, maybe we can wait for you until you get to the office and set up.
The number to dial in. Sarah, we need to give him the number to dial in.
Number to. Oh, okay.
You have a phone number?
Let me see.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Sorry about this.
The technical trouble.
Give me a second. I don't see a number.
Yeah, this is a problem. How about Jimmy? Can you log off and then sign in again?
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy. I don't see a number in here to dial in.
Yeah, he's going to sign out. He's going to reconnect.
Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. We're having a little bit difficult technical difficulty. Jimmy will join back.
Yeah,
soon.
Jimmy is in Shanghai right now, so he probably, is driving or something on the way. So.
Yeah, I talked to him. Let me stop the recording.
Close out this, and then sorry about the delay. So let's get started. Oops. Can I start now? Or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. My name is Jimmy Wong, and I'm the Principal PM Manager from Microsoft. I actually have been the PM managers for a few products like SSIS, MDS, and DQS. And today, I got the opportunity from this group to be able to present what I have presented in the SQL PaaS in November, and I would basically repeat the whole session here, and then and I want to make it interactive. So if you have any questions or any comments, please let me know. And I was gonna skip the slides. Let me. Can I actually move this? Oops. No. Just move it away from the screen. Okay. Yeah. So and I assume most of you know me, and so or either have my WeChat. So I'll skip my introduction. So from today's session, I'm gonna have two takeaways for you guys. Number one, I would like you to understand what are the new connectivity, the new scale-out story, and the platform support story for the SSIS 2017. As you may know or should know that the SSIS 2017 was released on October 1st. So it's been like more like a couple months now that we have the new SSIS out in the market, and if you have not have a chance to explore the new SSIS 2017, today will be a good opportunity for us to discuss some of these new functionalities or capabilities, so that later on you can go back and try it out, or at least plan your company roadmap with some of these new features. Now, the second takeaway that I would like you to have is to understand fully about the lift and shift experience that we provide for all our customers starting in October, because we now have what we call the SSIS PaaS solution on Azure, and the solution is implemented based on the Azure Data Factory V2. So this is like a breakthrough, I would say, because in the last 2-3 years, a lot of people from the community has been asking, like, so what's going on with SSIS? Is there the SSIS cloud solution? What's going on with the ADF? Is ADF is a compete with SSIS or whatnot? So there are a lot of questions, anxieties, or not sure kind of in the community. But today I'm proud to announce that we have a solution from the ADF V2 that allows you to execute SSIS packages on Azure, so that now you will have one single solution for your ETL workflow on Azure. And I'm going to show you what it is, what's the scope is about, and how you can use it today, and etc. So lots of information around that. So let's get started. Let's look at the box products first, which is the SSIS 2017. For SSIS 2017, we have done quite a few improvements. First of all, we actually added a few connectivities on the Azure Feature Pack. The connectivities such as ADLS source and destination, ADLS file system task, ADLS file Enumerator, so that you can loop through the ADLS directory if you want to. The SQL DW upload task. And from the scalability side, we also have the scale out at package level right now. This is a feature that has been asked for many years. Or the feedback from the field was like SSIS doesn't have a scale out, capability. So it's not good for like a large enterprise with many nodes or many packages. Now we actually have a scale-out solution at the package level. So I'm going to talk through it in a lot more detail in the later slides. We actually have a scale-out manager, which is a UI that allows you to manage the scale-out topology to make it much easier for you to do manageability here. And from the platform side as well, SQL announced a project called SQL Helsinki in the past, which is about supporting SQL Server on Linux. And for SSIS, we also have what we call the SSIS Helsinki project. And we are proud to announce that both the SQL Helsinki and SSIS Helsinki are officially released as part of the SQL 2017. So as part of the SQL 2017 releases, you now can actually run SQL Server and SSIS on a Linux platform. Now for SSIS specifically, we're going to support SSIS on Ubuntu and Red Hat Enterprise. How does it work is that you will continue to still develop your packages on Windows because Visual Studio or SSDT doesn't support Linux yet, right? So your development will still have to be done through a window box. But then when you deploy to like a production workload, you can actually set up SQL Server or SSIS on a Linux box so that you can run it on Linux. And we already have some customer doing that in production usage as well. So so lots of great stuff for the SSIS 2017. So let's double click into some of these features so that we can kind of understand some of the details. For Azure Feature Pack, as you know, this is the list that kind of we have support in the past couple of years. From well, we used to have like Azure Blob, source and destination, or the about upload tasks for the blob. We also have HDInsight. These are kind of the old stuff, right? That we released in 2016. So the yellow, the red link is actually the one that we released in 2017. We have an ADLS connection manager so that you can, just like any other manager, you can reuse the connectivity or the connection. And we have the ADLS file system task. This is basically for you to actually do different operation on the ADLS system. Rather than just move or extract file, you can actually do some filtering or some delete operation, for example. And we have the SQL DW. We also have the ADLS source and destination. That's kind of the typical data flow that allows you to extract data from as a source or load data to destination. Now we actually have a the Azure SQL DW upload task. What this does is, I'm not sure how many of you remember, but in the past, when I kind of do the marketing around the SSIS 2016, one of the end-to-end example that I was doing was to use SSIS 2016 and then upload some flag files to the Azure Blob using the Azure Blob connector, and then use the SQL script task to kind of trigger a few poly-based script to do the bulk transfer from the Azure Blob to SQL DW, right, using SSIS. And we actually have this documented on the SSIS blog as well. Now this, when we kind of released that, we got pretty good feedback that, oh, okay, now I can actually do that. This is another way for me to inject data into SQL DW using SSIS with the polybase so that we got the performance we need. However, some feedback from the field was that, hey, that's great that SSIS can do it, but why you are making it like multiple tasks or steps? Can you actually make it one single task that I can, do everything in there? And so we took the feedback, and that's why we have this SQL DW upload tasks. So now let's look at each of these components in more details. For the ADLS connection manager, what do we support is two different type of authentication options. One is the end user authentication using the AAD user identity. The other one is the S2S, or we call it service to service authentication using AAD service identity. So you can set up your ADLS connection using one of these authentication mode as required by your department or organization. Now, from the ADLS destination, this is actually very similar to other like HDFS destination or all that that we had in terms of the structure. You know, the ADLS destination allows you to, you know, use an existing ADLS connection manager, or you have to create a new one. You have to specify the file path or the destination file path. You have to specify the file format, and then you do the mapping of the source to destination column. Now, one thing I want to call out is about the file formats. For the ADLS destination, same as the HDFS destination, we actually support 3 types. One is the text. The other one is Afro, and then the last one is ORC format. Now, if you look at the ADLS source, they are pretty much the same. The only differences is the file format. In the source side, we only support text and Afro. Now, you may wonder why there's no ORC. Why is there a gap? It was because based on a lot of customer feedback, we learned that customer actually had the need to move some of the ORC file to a Hadoop file system, or like HDFS or ADLS, right? Because then they can perform some file querying, and ORC can be a format that give better performance. However, when we dig deeper into the customer scenario, we find almost no one will actually pull the data or the ORC data from the HDFS storage or the ADLS storage out to somewhere else. Usually is one way, and then the ORC usually stay within the HDFS kind of file system structure, but we don't see that many use cases that will actually pull the file out for other purposes, and that is the reason why we do not introduce that, to make it simpler and also to make it consistent with the HDFS sources file format support as well. But if you guys do see a need, please let me know offline, and then we can talk through it, and then maybe later on we can figure out how to support it. But at this point, that's the fundamental reason why we have these different file support lists between the destination and the source. Now, for the ADLS file system task, we added it also based on the customer feedback. We have the ADLS source and destination. Now, customer can move files from your local machine to the ADLS or vice versa. That's great. But then some customers start talking about, oh, I need to do a few different operations. I may need to just copy within the ADLS. I may want to create like a folder in ADLS. I may want to delete something, and I may want to do a few different operations. And because of that, we actually start thinking, oh, okay, then maybe we should have like a file system task for the ADLS, so the customer can choose to do what they really want to do beside moving the data in or out of the ADLS. And as you can see, there is an operation tab where it supports copy to ADLS or copy from ADLS. And this is more like a bulk copy, more like a upload task if you kind of compare with the Azure Blob upload task, right? So that these tasks will be super fast in terms of performance when you upload the files, but then but this only allows you to copy the files and then put it in the ADLS. It doesn't do the column mapping, all that. But if you want like a more fancy column mapping, then you still have to use the ADLS source and destination. But this is kind of to provide you the flexibility of it. Now, as I mentioned, this is a task that we call file system type because we want to support different operation. To begin with, we support 2 operation at a couple operation at this point, but later on we'll add more operation as well. We also support the file expiration day as well. By the way, this is more like a specific attribute, in ADLS, where each of the files will have an expiry day. And so you can actually do a query and select, file, that gonna expire on certain day before, and you can kind of do query like that as well. Now, for each ADLS file enumerator, the enumerator allows you to basically, just like any other enumerator in SSIS, allows you to do like a loop to process each of these either based on the directory or based on certain pattern. So similar to any other file enumerator in SSIS. The SQL DW upload task, as I mentioned earlier, we basically combine 3 steps in SSIS into single one. From uploading to the blob, creating external table, loading the data into SQL DW using Polybase, we now merge all that into one. But then the logistic and the technical requirement is the same as what we discussed in the SSIS 2016. Underneath it's still basically first move the data to the blob, then create the external table using the SQL script task, and then execute the Polybase script for loading the data from the external from the blob to the external table into the SQL DW. So that's it for the connectivity side. Now I can stop here to take any quick question or not, or should I move forward and finish everything before answering questions, feedbacks?
I see a couple of questions. Oh, maybe
Okay.
only just one. Can you please give us a brief explanation about ADLS?
Okay. Sure. ADLS basically is it stands for Azure Data Lake Storage, and this is like a new Microsoft Azure storage services on Azure, and basically it actually allows you to store the unstructured data. It just imagine that it is more like a HDFS on a local Hadoop, but then you move it to the cloud. Okay, but this is a Microsoft version of HDFS storage on the cloud, if you look at it that way. And why people use ADLS? Because some people want to store unstructured data, like the flat file or whatnot. But then then you may ask, like, why do you use ADLS versus Azure Blob Storage, for example? Azure Blob Storage, allow you to store files. They are actually very similar, but I think ADLS is more structured for kind of like a more bigger file workload. And one important thing is within the ADLS there is something called ADLA, Azure Data Lake Analytic. Okay, that allows you to do a new language called USQL. Okay, you can use the USQL that writes specific query against the data of files on the ADLS, so that you can query or merge or do any kind of aggregation on these unstructured data. Okay, now this is very similar to you having a local Hadoop HDFS system, okay, where you write a Hive job or Pig job against the data. It's similar, okay, but this is more like a Microsoft version of the HDFS storage on Azure. Did that answer your question?
She said yes.
Okay, cool. Any other?
This only question we got so far.
Okay, then let me move on. So the next feature that I would like to talk about is the Scale-Out at package level. Okay, in many years, we've been receiving a lot of feedback from the customers that SSIS do not have a Scale-Out solution. So today, I mean not today, but in the past, even in SSIS 2016, if you say have multiple like hundreds of packages, and you want to speed up your ETL execution time, then what you have to do, and if you want to set up more than one SSIS server, then what you have to do is you have to maintain a SSIS DB or a SQL Server on each machine, and then install SSIS DB on each machine, and then you have to manually kind of handpick, okay, these 1 to 200 packages execute on server 1, 201 to 400 packages execute on server 2, and etc. And then kind of to parallelize your ETL workload on premises, right? Now we do know that some customer actually build their own metadata system and then do the distribution themselves using other orchestrator or other tools. That's also very common as well. But what I'm telling you right now is in SSIS 2017, you don't need to do all that anymore. Because we are introducing this scale out by a package level concept, where now you only need to use or set up one master node and then with multiple worker nodes. Okay, and the major key point of this topology is you only need one SSIS DB. Okay, compared with the past, where if you have multiple SSIS server, you need multiple SSIS DB, right? Right now you don't. You only need one SSIS DB on the master node, and then you just install multiple worker. The worker is basically a lightweight, I would say, a node where it only has the SSIS executable. It doesn't have SQL. It doesn't require SQL Server to be installed. This is also a major difference than than previously how you set it up. Previously, how you set up when you install SSIS, you always have to kind of have SSDB, which requires you to have the SQL Server, right? But in the new scale-out topology, you don't. So it makes it much easier, much cleaner for you to set up, for you to maintain. Now, and the again, based on the name, what is master? Master basically is just a node that has the SSIS DB installed. It also install a new services called SSIS Master Services. It's just a Windows services that it runs behind the scene. The master services will basically do the distribution of the packages to the workload. Right? The master know what are the workers connecting to me within the topology, and then the master will figure out who is the worker that is free or not free, so that the master can distribute the packages appropriately. Now, on the other hand, the worker basically just has the SSIS engine initiated, and it just executes the package locally on the worker. Once the execution is done, the worker will send back all the log and all the execution information to the master, so that all the transaction or log details will be stored in a single centralized location, which is the master in SSIS DB. Now, the master and worker, we also make sure that is very secure when they communicate. So we actually use SSL for the communication to talk to between this communication between the master and the worker. This is to prevent that if someone in the company try to hack it or try to mess things up, or someone outside the company that try to do that. So the communication between master and worker is using the SSL. Now, the beauty of this is that not only you can run this topology on premises today, right? But you can actually run this topology on a cluster of Azure VM. Now, with Azure VM, it's getting more interesting because Azure VM allows you to scale up and down, right, by changing the VM type, right? More compute power, less compute power, more memory, less memory. And then with the scale-out topology, you can actually build a pretty elastic execution pool of your SSIS on Azure VM as well, if you want to. This is a more deeper look at the execution logic and flow. Now, so basically, we are using a pool model. Okay, so what happened is that when a user like you guys, try to trigger an execution for 100 packages, the master will take the order, and the master will say, okay, here's 100 packages that I need to execute, and I have, say, 4 workers connecting to me. Okay, so the master know all that information. Now, what do I mean by pull model is that it wasn't the master that tried to push the package execution to the worker. It's actually the worker is pulling for the job information. So basically, when the execution happened, the worker will say, hey, I'm worker 1. I'm free. Can you give me some work to do? The master will say, okay, you're free. So let's execute package 1. Now worker 2 will do the same thing. Worker 3, worker 4 will do the same thing. So master has by then will have been successfully distributed 4 packages on 4 workers to execute. Now assuming worker 3, the package being executed on worker 3 is pretty short and fast, and worker 3 now is free. Okay, so then worker 3 will raise a hand again and say, hey master, I'm free again, and give me something to execute. Then master will give package 5 for worker 3 to execute, and so on. Okay, now as I mentioned, when each package is completed, the execution, the worker will first send all the log and all the information to the master, so that the master will store all that information first before giving a new task to the worker. That's what I mean the pull model. Now, from the installation, if you run the installer of the SQL Server 2017, you will see that we now added a couple options for installing the Scale-Out master and the Scale-Out worker. You can install the Scale-Out master and the SQL engine on one machine, okay? Or you can just install the worker or master on a separate machine, or you can install the master or worker on the same machine. What does it really mean is, if you don't have too many machines, say you only have 2 machines in the company in your production, then what you can do is you can still have 1 master, 2 worker, because the master can also be the worker. Now, but if you don't want to kind of mix things up, you want to have a pretty clear boundary, then you can actually say you have 5 machines, then you can say 1 machine dedicated for master only, then 4 workers can connect to the master. You can do that too, right? Or you can do 5 workers and with 1 worker being on the master as well. Now, during the installation, you will be asked to provide a port number for the master and worker communication. Default is 8391, but of course you can change it to anything you want based on your company requirement. And one thing to note is that make sure your firewall configuration is configured properly to allow the master and worker to talk to each other. You need to basically open the firewall port for them to talk, because we do see some customer when they first initiate the setup, they say, hey, I follow the installation, everything, but they're just not talking to each other, and it could be the firewall setting. Now, once you install it, you want to manage it, right? You want to actually set things up. You want to start, start some of the package execution. So in the latest SSMS, starting in the version 17.2 or 3, that is available for download, you will actually see that we introduced a couple new context menu items, as you can see on the screen. One is called Execute in Scale-Out. The other one is called Manage Scale-Out. If you click on the Manage Scale-Out, it will pop up a UI that looks like what you see on the screen. It's called the Manage Scale-Out UI. it will ask you for the master node to connect to. So if you are running this on your master machine, you just put in your localhost machine or the machine name. If you're running on your developer machine and you want to connect to a master in your COPNet, then you have to type in your master machine to connect. Once you connect, then you will see, pretty simple UI. First, you need to tell the master whether you want to enable the scale out execution mode or not. If you are not enable it, then everything will just execute just like the old time. Nothing changed. It's just like, oh, one machine connect, like you have a machine with SSIS DB, you can execute package on that machine. That's it. Okay, no scale out, nothing. But if you enable the scale, then what it does is it will then allow you to execute the packages on different workers that this master recognize. Now, assuming you have enabled the scale out on this master machine, then you will start seeing all the worker information. If you go to the worker manager, you can actually look into the worker properties in terms of the name, the user account. We actually have more other information now in terms of the machine memory or some property of the machine, so that you know what are the machine you are using, etc. Now, of course, you can disable the worker or enable the worker through this management portal. Now, let's say you want to connect another worker, right? Worker machine number 2. So what we provide this UI is to make it much easier or seamless for you to set things up for you. So all you need to do is you type in the second machine, let's say worker machine 2. Then it will tell you that these are the steps or 5 bullet point steps that we are going to have to execute for you before the worker and the master can officially talk to each other. And these 5 steps include, installing a cert on the master, installing another cert on the worker, and then update the endpoint of the worker so that the worker know which master to talk to and using which port, and then it saves the configuration, and then we start the worker, so that when the worker restarted, it will know, oh, I'm talking to this master, and the master, because it's already live, so the master say, hey, hi, how are you? I know you are my worker, and then they kind of build the connection or communication. That's how it works. So we actually do all that behind the scene when you click the OK button. Now, if there is an error that occurs in one of the steps, we'll let you know, and then we'll let you know where it fell, and then hopefully we have some meaningful message to help you to guide through the problem. Now, assuming that if everything is set up properly, now the next step we need to do is we need to go execute, the package. Now, in SSMS, as I mentioned, in the new execute in Scale-Out context menu item, when you click on it, you will see a new, kind of like a familiar UI windows, but then with a slight modification. Right? This is basically execute package UI in the past, but we basically take it and modify it, to make a specific scale-out version of it. The specific execute package in scale-out windows, you actually not only you can select the package, but you also can select the machine. As you can see, after we ran through the 2 steps, you will have 2 worker machine recognized by this master, and you can actually select all the machine to be for the execution, or you can select only some machine. So this is pretty handy because you sometimes you don't always want to execute everything on all the machines, right? There may be some machine being pull out for other purposes, or being in maintenance, or being some Windows update. So you can basically select it yourself, and you have that flexibility. Now, when we try to do the get the customer feedback before during the preview, one thing that customer concern a lot is, okay, Scale-Out is great, but in order for us to get into the production workload, we need a better story for HA, the high availability. We need to make sure that our scale topology can be resilient to disaster or to fail over. Okay, so our scale actually support high availability. Now, for the worker side, the high availability is kind of already supported by the pool model, and that's why that's one of the reasons why we choose the pool model, because if a worker is down, then the worker will not raise hand. Remember, the other worker will still raise hand to the master and continue to execute, so that it won't impact the overall execution. Now, from the master side, you can actually set up a Windows failover cluster hosting multiple, scale-out master and use the always on for SSIS DB. So the master node, you can use the Windows failover, and then the SSIS DB, you can set up the always on. Now, SSIS DB supports always on starting in SSIS 2016. So that's actually is a very good because in SSIS 2017 we can leverage that feature and apply to the scale-out HA model. So you can actually use SQL always on to set up your SSIS primary and replicate, and you have the failover cluster set up for the master. The worker is already kind of HA supported by the pool model, and that's your high availability topology for your scale-out setup. Now, after you figure out how to set up, the next common question is, what about the licensing? I don't want to pay for everything, for in the enterprise SKU or whatnot. It's too expensive. So for the scale-out master, it is actually enterprise SKU feature. You are required to have a SQL Server enterprise SKU for running the master. Now for the scale-out worker, it can be either standard or enterprise. Now, why is either? Because if you, if your packages does not require any enterprise feature, okay, then your worker can be using the standard SKU only, because you don't have to run the enterprise feature. But if your packages, has logic or workflow that uses the, say, Oracle and Teradata connector, the CDC component, or the fuzzy lookup, those are the enterprise specific feature, then because your package depend on that, and so the worker that execute these packages require the enterprise SKUs. Okay, but keep in mind is that, as I mentioned earlier, the worker does not require SQL Server to be installed. You just need to have the SKU, okay, for the licensing perspective. All right. I will stop here and see if there are any other questions or quick comments.
Yeah, there are quite a few. The first one, does the worker consume a SQL license?
Yes, it does. The worker consumes a SQL license, as I mentioned. It's either the standard or enterprise, but then it depends on whether your packages has the require what component. Like for example, if you just do if all your packages does not require CDC, Oracle, Teradata connector, or fuzzy lookup, for example, right? Just basic OLADB connectivities, file connectors, merge, all that, right? Simple standard stuff. Then what you can do is you can set up your topology that the master is enterprise, and then you can set up like 20 worker that are standard only. Okay, so that's something what you need. Like you don't need to set up 21 machine with all enterprise. Okay, but that like the 20 standard will save a lot of money on that. But it does require the SQL license. Now because for scale out feature, we expect this is more like an enterprise kind of level features, like so that usually most of the customer already have the EA agreement, or they buy it based on the number of core. So we don't see it's to like a that's why with that assumption we kind of set up the licensing in that way. But I'm welcome any feedback if you say anything, hey, this doesn't make sense or whatnot. At least I can take the feedback and then figure out what to do in the future. But yeah, any does that make sense? Like, did I explain it okay?
So either way, the both master and workers need a license, right? Regardless if it's standard or enterprise. All right.
Correct. The master
Okay.
has to be enterprise.
Okay. Cool. Well,
Okay.
yeah. Another question is: does the master server handle the those workers servers service loads balance?
The master.
Yeah.
So the master and because it's a pool model, right? So the pool model already provide the load balancing kind of logistic, right? Because the worker will only raise hand to the master to ask for a new execution job when the worker is free, right? So in this case, that would mean that if you have 10 worker, each 10 worker will keep working until all the package execution is done, but they are not gonna queue up the job at the worker level. Like the master keep the queue of the job, and whoever worker is free, the worker raise their hand to the master. Master will just say, okay, here's one more job for you. And then another worker is free, then the master will say, oh, here's another job for you. So basically the pool model concept end-to-end provides that load balancing.
Okay. So the next question is, what is SKU?
Oh, SKU. This is SKU just mean license. Sorry, for the acronym. It's just the enterprise license and the standard license.
Okay. So in SQL Server 2017, is SSIS engine upgraded, or it remains the same as the SQL Server 2014 or 12?
You mean the versioning? We always upgraded it. So each of the major release we upgrade, we rebump. We will say rebump, like version bump up the version. So that the version number is actually different. And indeed, each year we actually make changes to the SQL Server. So there's new changes or minor changes. So yeah, they are different.
Engine-wise, they're different, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. The master and worker concept sound like Hadoop big data, right?
Not really. But yeah. So what is the question? Is it just this question, or there are more details of it?
The whole question is the master and worker concept sound like a Hadoop big data. So is that right? Then is SSIS 2017 Scale-Out run cloud or local machine?
Oh, okay. So as I mentioned to earlier, the scale out feature is just a way for you to scale your packages to do the management easier. That otherwise you have to do the multiple node setup manually, right? Now of course our scale out topology, why we do scale out of this feature is because our cloud version of SSIS, some fundamental work actually was built on top of this master topology concept. Okay, and so we're trying to kill basically two birds in one shot, right? So because we need to build the architecture support or the feature support for running a scalable workload on Azure, and that's our, the next topic, which is running SSIS on ADF V2. Okay, but in order for us to build that, then this feature actually can be applicable to customers on premises as well. That's why we introduce this feature as an actual feature that customer can use on premises. Now, if I may take the question and turn it to another dimension, I think the most important question here is like, hey, if I am the customer, I am an IT for my company, or I am the IT director, I am the manager, I want to recommend to the team what we should use, what's the guidance here? And my guidance is very simple. Right now, today, Microsoft SSIS provides you 3 ways to execute your packages in a scalable fashion. Option number 1, if you are like a financial, a company, or if your company are very sensitive on moving data to the cloud, you are still very on-premises, focused. Your company do not anticipate any cloud solution in any time soon, then on-premises solution is your only choice. In that case, take your existing SSIS version, upgrade to the SSIS 2017 on-premises. Then you can leverage this scale-out feature that I was just talking about on your on-premises setup. Right? You can, on-premises create or set up multiple machines, and set one being master, the other workers, and then you can do the load balancing on that to speed up your execution of your packages. Assuming, say, you have 500 packages which take 8 hours now to run, because your company size has been growing, your data size has been growing, you want to really cut it down to 4 hours, then add more worker. Okay, then hopefully your time will proportionally reduce by more worker. But of course, at some point you still reach like a threshold, right? But that's a different, questions. But this is kind of scenario number 1. Now, scenario number 2 is that, hey, my company wants me to move my SSIS packages to the cloud, and so in the last 2 years, we actually have done that. How we do it is we move the SSIS to an Azure VM. Right? We run everything on the Azure VM. All the packages are executed on Azure VM. Okay, and it was quick, easy move, and we are happy with it. Okay, then in the then in this case, you can actually use SSIS 2017 and then install on the VM, and so that you can run through like you can set up your VM topology with this scale out topology, so that you can have the scale up and scale down and scale out and scale in solution. Sorry, let me quickly respond that. Yes. Okay, and then the last one is that the last scenario is like, oh, we have hundreds of packages executing on premises right now. The company has a roadmap to move everything to the cloud, including the SQL Server, everything, right? So SQL Server, we are about to think about moving it to either SQL Azure or the SQL Managed Instance, which is a new stuff coming up from the SQL side as well. I can talk more later if you're interested. And we want to move all the SQL Server to the cloud. And as part of this migration, we also want to move SSIS and all the packages to the cloud. Eventually, our goal is not to have any single machine on premises. Our goal is not to manage any machines. We want to have a fully managed Microsoft service to run our database storage as well as SSIS workload. Good. We have a solution for you. The solution is ADF V2. Okay, and which is what I'm going to talk about in very soon in this session. So basically, these are the 3 different options or scenarios that I would think of that will commonly raises in the IT department or within the company. Did that make it clear, or is there more question around that?
Yeah, he said clear.
Okay. Okay. Any
So
more?
yeah, somebody asked what the new features that added to SQL, sorry, SSIS engine in SQL Server 2017.
Oh, for the SQL Server 2017, right? Not the SSIS. I actually do not have the list here. But I can kind of follow up if you can just send me an email. My email is jwong@microsoft.com, and JWONG. I can follow up offline, but I don't have the full list of the SQL Server 2017. But I'm sure if you go and go to the SQL Server 2017 download pages, there will have the full list of all the new features introduced for SQL Server 2017.
Jimmy, how about you send that feature list to Saturday Night SQL and PaaS.org? That way I can post it on our website for, so that more people can view it. Would that
Sure,
be
sure.
okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank
All right.
you. So another one is, did you have to make backpacks for testing first?
The what? The backpack?
I have no idea.
What?
Joseph.
Yeah, let me turn on Joseph's mic. Hey, Joseph, your mic is really, please, oops.
Did you unmute him?
Yeah, no, he mute by himself.
Okay. I guess he can't talk. So it's
Or,
Well,
yeah, just let Joseph to write cleared about his questions, and then we can go over later.
yeah. I think that's fine, because I think we are pretty tight on time. So I want to, if I may continue about the efforts or the ADF V2 for SSIS, then maybe at the end I can take up the question together. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So yeah. So SSIS package execution on ADF V2. So what is ADF? I'm not sure how many, because I can't interact with you guys, but if in the actual session I will ask you, how many of you guys have used ADF or know what ADF is. But anyways, I'm gonna explain here. ADF basically is our Microsoft Unified Platform for ETL or ELT on Azure. Okay, ADF actually started like 2-3 years ago, or a bit longer than that. And ADF basically allows you to build pipeline or data pipeline, and you can schedule them. So it has an orchestration engine. The data pipeline is basically a chain or a group of activities, including data movement or transformation. And data sets are named references or pointed to the data, such as input or output. Now, some activities produces or consumes data. And there is a linked services concept, which represents the connection information of resources, similar to the connection manager concept in SSIS. Now, in the ADF V2, which was recently public preview release in end of September, we actually introduced a new concept in ADF called Integration Run Time. An integration runtime is an ADF compute resource that can perform data movement, transformation, or SSIS package executions. Now, customer can deploy one or many instances of an IR. And an IR can run in a public network or inside a VNet or behind a corporate firewall. In ADF V2, we have an IR type called Azure SSIR, so that customer can run the packages of SSIS on it. Okay, so just to kind of be in short, ADF has been there for many years, right? And so what we actually have done in the last 6 to 12 months is to integrate ADF SSIS into kind of like a single seamless experience on Azure. Okay, so basically now you can execute SSIS on the IR concept, or the integration runtime resource pool. Okay, so you can use ADF to trigger data movement. You can use ADF to call a Hadoop cluster. You can use ADF to trigger the SSIS package execution. Now, the Azure SSIS is now publicly previewed. Right now, it actually supports East US and North Europe, and indeed we also support West Europe now, recently, and we plan to support East US too and many other regions in the next few months. We have 6 different node size support, or the VM type support. I'm going to go through each of those, in the later slide. We support classical VNet, but we plan to support ARM VNet by end of December. So if you're using ARM VNet, then you will be supported. Now, what is the VNet for? This is more like for the on-premise data access, right? For example, if you have packages that require to access like on-premise Oracle sources, okay, and you don't want to change the package, okay, you want the package just execute as is, then but then when you move the package to Azure for the execution, how can you access the on-premise SQL source, right? So what you have to do is you need to set up the VNet so that the SSIS IR pool can access your COPNET resource in a secure way. Okay. Now, for more question about what VNet is, like how do you set it up, this is beyond today's topic. This is more like an Azure networking topic, and there are a lot of information about setting up VNet on Azure, on the Azure portal that you can explore. Today, in the public review, we already support 24/7 lifecycle support because we do. We are actually working with some customer for production deployment very soon. So this is more like an actual official services. So if you are planning on giving a head start to move your packages on the cloud, you want to run it as a production workload, you can actually do that because it is a live cloud services, and we have 24/7 lifecycle support. So it is a true service. Now at this point though, we only support standard SKU, right? Standard means the standard feature, right? What is standard and enterprise? As I mentioned earlier before, enterprise feature include Oracle and Teradata connector. It includes the fuzzy lookup. It includes the CDC. So these are the enterprise feature, and right now in the public preview it's not supported yet. But we are working hard on supporting it in the next few months. Currently, it also doesn't support third party because third party is it has a lot of complication in terms of the ISV licensing, installing, excuse me, installing multiple external things, may have the security concern, etc. So we are working on a solution which we are private previewing with a few customers. So if you plan to use the public preview of SSIS, and if you're interested on the third-party model, shoot me an email offline. I may see how I can get you on the private preview. Okay, so now let's look at a few step by step. So for us to talk about cloud services, we cannot get away from 5 different steps. Number one, you have to figure out how to provision the service. Once we provision the service, we have to figure out how to, execute the packages. Once we figuring out how to execute the packages, well, actually, before we execute the package, we have to figure out how to deploy the package. Once we figure out how to deploy it, we need to figure out how to execute it. Once we figure out how to execute it, we need to figure out how to manage or monitor it or manage it. And then the last but not least, we need to figure out how to schedule it, right? So I'm going to go through this step by step. Provisioning. There are two ways right now. You can provision through the PowerShell script using the ADF V2 .NET SDK, or you can use the ADF V2 portal. If you're using the provision, if you decide to provision with the PowerShell script, we have actually the full script available, on the Microsoft.com documentation content. I can share this slide to you guys later, but then all you need to do is you basically copy the example and you change some of the highlighted properties or parameters and change it to your own subscription name, change it to your own resource group name, change it to your own data factory name, and then let the script run by itself, and everything will be parameterized, and so that the script will just take your subscription name or your new name of SSIS description, all that, and then create the services for you through the PowerShell script. So that's one way. Now, of course, we have a UI way. The UI right now we are still working on is a work in progress. But then, if you're really interested, I can send you the way or the method for you to trigger the link. The link that I'm showing on the portal right now is kind of external for the for the internal customers or for some selected customers. But if you're interested in using it, I can actually send you more information. You click on this open link on the ADF portal. Then you will be able to, you'll prompt the complete new UI of ADF V2. This UI basically allows you to author your data pipeline in a visual way. Okay. If I have time later, I will show you a quick walkthrough of this UI as well as a demo. And you click on connection, you click on the integration runtime. Then you will be prompted with a new UI called lift and shift existing SSIS packages in Azure. You click next, you'll be prompted to create your integration runtime. Choose your own name, put whatever description you need, choose the region that you want. The node size basically is a VM type, right? Because SSIS IR is a pool of machine that help you to execute the packages, similar to the worker concept, right? When we talk about the scale out. So you have to pick what machine type you want. Is it like a D2 or D1 V2, or D4 V2 type of machine? That's something you need to choose. The node number is how many, right? You want 2, you want 4, or you want like 16, right? Now, the SKU, basically the license, we call it standard at this point because we don't support enterprise, but later we will. So you have additional selection on that. Now, then you click next. Then you will have to be asked to create the next page. You'll be asked to create the SQL DB for your SSIS DB for your catalog, basically. So you need to either prepare the catalog DB yourself. When I say prepare, is you just need to set up the Azure DB, okay, and then you give us the database server name and the login info as well, so that we can get into that DB and create a catalog for you that will be used for the SSIS execution on Azure. Okay. And then the third screen, there are more advanced settings. For example, you can configure how many maximum parallel execution per node, right? You either choose 8 or 1, or based on the number of core, you can choose your own. By default, it's set to 1. Now you can actually also configure the VNet here, right? By configure UNet, you basically need to provide your subscription and then your VNet name and your subnet name, etc. Then once you configure that, then it will tell us that, oh, this is your VNet, this is all the VNet info. That will basically create a pool of the SSIS IR machine and be part of your VNet. And because it's part of your VNet, so our machine for SSIS execution can actually talk to any of your local resources that is part of this VNet, okay? And that's how it achieved the on-premise data access. Now, once you go through this, you will see the SSIS IOUT is being starting, okay? And it usually takes 10 to 20 minutes for the whole process to complete. Now, when it's started, like see the status started here, that means you're ready to use. You can use that to execute any packages on Azure. Now, you can of course pause it if you don't want it, because if it started and it's running, you'll be charged. And the only way that you don't get charged is you have to stop the IR if you don't want to use it, because this IR is a dedicated pool of IR. Right? It's dedicated for your company, for your subscription. Why it is dedicated pool is because SSIS actually does a lot of custom script, custom component, many things, right? So it is very unlike any other like cloud services that you can do a sharing mode, right? Because you definitely don't want someone execute a package that trigger a custom script which install like a keyboard typing phishing machine tool or services which later on your package is run on, right? So you don't want any security risk or concern. That's why for SSIS on Azure, all the machine pool right now is dedicated. So you basically pay for what you use. Now, of course, as I mentioned, you can stop the IOUT. And when you stop the IOUT, then you won't get charged. The stopping usually take a minute or two to release all the allocated node. And once you stop, you can modify it. For example, you may say, hey, I'm doing a POC with an IOUT for one node. Okay, and the POC worked great. Now I'm getting more serious about it. I want to increase it to 5 nodes for my production workload. Great. Stop it, and then you can edit it, and then you can restart it again. And once you added your IOUT, there's some property that such a name you will not be changed, right? Unless you completely delete or deprovision the IOUT and redo it again, right? So editing, there's some limitation, but you can definitely change the node size or the number of nodes. Now, once you figure out how to provision it, let's look at how you can deploy it. The deployment is easy because we know that our customers, like all of you guys are existing SSIS customers or SQL customers. You guys are familiar with SSMS and SSDT. So all these features that we have talked about will be exposed directly in either SSMS or SSDT in terms of deployment, in terms of execution, so that you don't need to learn the ADF concept if you don't want to. Even though we say, oh yeah, the SSIS execution is part of ADF V2, but we do hear some customer concern. It's like, oh, ADF is kind of like a big new thing. I don't know. I'm not sure if I have time to do it and whatnot. But if you look at it, right, for the whole provisioning thing, if you use the PowerShell script, you actually don't need to even get to ADF at all. You just use PowerShell script and you provision the service. When the service is provisioned, you don't need to open ADF if you don't want to, because you can do all that through SSMS. And basically using the deployment wizard, right? And the deployment wizard actually support the deployment to the to the cloud, to the catalog on the SQL Azure, okay? And of course, you can run the deployment wizard executable by itself, or you can use PowerShell script as well. There's a cool example on the Microsoft.com documentation. Or you can use T-SQL script to execute the SSIS DB store proc. Basically similar to how you do it today on premises, right? Because all we do is to put the SSIS DB catalog on the cloud storage, which is the SQL Azure, right? So technically, you can do everything with SSMS using that, because your SSMS can actually connect to that DB, right? So, and then we actually update the SSMS to provide these functionalities. So your experience is seamless, just like what you do on premises today. And here's an example, right? If you see the screen, on the left, we already are connected to an on-premises SSIS server, right? But now, we can connect to another server again by click the connect, and then you type in the server name instead of typing in. Then the server name, you just put in the Azure DB server name, right? Make sure though, when you connect, go to the connection property and type connect to database as SSIS DB. By default, this is called default value, and if you don't change this, you won't be able to connect to the SQL Azure DB. Okay? A lot of customers hit this at the first time, so I just want to call this out. Now, once you connect to this, you can see single UI, single SSMS. You can actually manage both. You can manage the SSIS catalog on premises, or you can manage the SSIS catalog on the cloud. Now, you can actually trigger execution on both as well if you want to, right? So if you say on the Azure one, you can right-click on the project and click Deploy Project. The UI is the same, right? In the server name, you just type in the SSIS DB server name on the SQL Azure, okay? And then you can deploy. Now, once you deploy, how do you execute it? Same thing. You can execute through SSMS, or you can execute through the PowerShell script, or you can execute through the T-SQL script using the SSIS DB store prop. Let's look at how do you do it on SSMS. After you deploy it, you will see the packages show on the Integration Service Project 4. Okay, you pick the package and you right-click on Execute. Select the package you want to execute on the Execute Package UI, and that's it. And it will execute. And once the execution is done, then you want to check whether the package is executed successfully or there's a failure. Or you want to look at the log. So how do you monitor it? Again, 4 different ways. Three different ways. SSMS is your old friend, but also you can do it on the PowerShell script as well, or you can do it on ADF V2 portal. There's something that when the portal that I show you, eventually you can actually see all this log information as well. But let's look at the old friend, how we do it, right? In SSMS, just like today, just like on premises, you go to report, standard report, all execution. You are actually like the package execution on the SSIS IR will actually show up just like the package, just like the old report you see on premises. And you can click on all messages or the log, and it will be the same as you see on premises. And of course, as I said, you can actually monitor through the PowerShell script. There's a whole bunch of PowerShell script documentation online that you can look at, but this is just one example, right? You can do a get Azure RM Data Factory V2 Integration Run Time command, and then you actually tell you how many nodes you have, what are the region of this node, and then you can drill down into like the log and all that. Now, last thing about scheduling, how do you want to schedule it? Like in the old days on premises, you will use SQL agent, right? That's the most commonly used scheduler. Now, if I want to schedule the execution on the cloud, how do I do that? Well, first of all, you can still actually use on-premises SQL agent, believe it or not, right? Because again, your SQL agent just need to point to the SQL Azure, and that's how you can do it. But if you are moving completely away from on-premises, then you can actually consider using Elastic Job, right? We actually have customers using Elastic Job to trigger the execution. But if you are using like a SQL managed instance server, which is a new thing that's coming up very soon as a public preview from the Azure SQL side, then there will be an Azure SQL MI agent as well, the managed instant agent, which is a replica of the local on-premises SQL agent, and then put it on the cloud. Okay, so you can actually use that to trigger the SSIS execution. But you say, you know what? Hey, I want to really move to the new stuff. I want to use ADF because ADF is kind of the future. Then there's two ways you can do. One is you can use the ADF V1 or V2 start prop activity to trigger the package execution on Azure, or you can use the new SSIS activity in ADF V2, which is work in progress, and we'll have it ready in the first half of 2018. Again, this is another example on SSMS, how you can trigger it using the T-SQL job. Now, there are some details about scheduling with ADF. What are the steps you need to do it. I'm going to skip that. This is the detailed step for how you can create an Elastic job to do the scheduling. I'm also going to quickly skip that due to the time. But I will share the slide and yeah, this is what I want to talk about. So this is the SSIS IR pricing, because I think a lot of you will want to know what is the price. So right now the preview price is 50% off, and so today we starting in October 1st, or actually starting on September 25th, we already start charging if you're using the services, and these are the node size that we have available as to start with. Okay, and we are working on plan to add more machine type in terms of more core or more memory. Okay, and this is a price of preview price with a 50% discount already. But then just one more thing to mention. If you look at the price, we actually have looked into the price into many different dimensions in terms of if you run it on premise locally, or if you run it on a SQL VM, how does it compare? The price is actually very competitive to a SQL VM, indeed. But then you get all these, fully managed services. You don't have to worry about disaster recovery and all that. And so in longer term, it's actually run cheaper for your on-premises, because on-premises you have to pay for, the server room space. You have to retire the machine, the depreciation cost, the electrical bill, and all that. So if you try to have a quick sense of, well, am I paying too little or am I paying too much? Like, how do I compare with my payment right now? I think a quick kind of guidance is, compare it. This is the price more like a SQL VM price, and SQL VM price is actually very competitive to your on-premises cost, right? Because a lot of people move to VM because it saves more money in long term. Now we have a whole bunch of resources. These are all the links that I was talking about in terms of the information you can get. So you can go visit this site and get more information. And that's it. This is my email. Shoot me an email if you have questions or concerns. There's an online survey, by the way. I do encourage you guys to sign up for the online survey, because that will help us to understand your profile a little bit more. And then if there's like a preview program, like for example the third-party support on SSIS on Azure, we usually look at the online survey and handpick customers to work with us closely. And so if you have time, fill up the survey for your company. That would be good. And we have a Yammer group available as well. And that's it. Sorry for overtime for 8 minutes.
That's okay. We kind of started late due to the technical difficulty anyway. So this one question here is that how would you describe the relationship between ADF and SSIS?
Okay, so the relationship between ADF and SSIS, indeed, right now we are to Microsoft, we only have one solution on the cloud, on Azure, and that's ADF. And SSIS and ADF, we are actually in the same organization and kind of same department. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that your experience is seamless, regardless whether you use ADF or use SSIS. SSIS has been a traditional ETL product on premises for many years, as you know, right? So this will remain the same. Okay, so if you're looking for on-premises ETL tool, that's SSIS on premises. But if you're looking on the cloud solution for executing your ETL workload in the cloud, that's ADF. Now, but if you want to move your SSIS to the cloud, that's ADF. Why? Because ADF V2, as I showed you earlier, has the capability to execute SSIS packages. Okay, that's the ADF SSIS IR. Our ADF also have other type of IR, such as the copy IR to do specific data movement for the big data movement, or there's an ADF HDInsight activity where you can spin off a HDInsight cluster, or there's an ADF ML activity where you can trigger machine learning activities, whatnot, right? So ADF will be your cloud orchestrator, okay, for many of these different workloads, and SSIS is one of these workloads. Okay, and so that I think the relationship is they are the same product. Like in the cloud, they are considered the same product. SSIS is a capability as part of the ADF. Okay, so and what we want to work on is to make sure the experience is seamless, so that if you want to schedule SSIS, there's different way you can schedule it. If you want, you can do it in ADF, or you can do it in the SQL Server side of the house, or like a SQL MI agent, for example, or Elastic Job. Like these are the ways that we want to make sure you can build your SSIS workload on the cloud by using ADF or using any other available tool. You should not be limited, right, to only like doing X, right? There you should be building a Lego for your SSIS where you can have multiple ways to do it. But that's kind of how I would put the relationship between ADF and SSIS. They are kind of the same family, right? SSIS is now one of the capability on the cloud for ADF.
Sounds good. So for the newer version, I never tested it myself, but I was just wondering if there's any improvement comparing to the SQL SSIS 2012 for the old data, because in the older version, there's no way to compare date and time within the OData connection manager.
So we didn't do any improvement on the OData connector in 2017. So the we did some improvement on the 2016, right, to support OData v4, and then we all, oh, by the way, yeah, in 2016 some SP releases on the Azure. Is it? I think 2016 and 17 both have it. Is like not only we support OData v4, but we also support dynamic CRM and dynamic AX online. These are the two things that we added to the OData support. But then anything else we didn't change.
Is there any plan to make it more user-friendly in the future?
Well, at this point, we basically do not have any immediate plan on the OData one, mainly because we don't hear like a strong feedback on it. But now I hear one, so it will be good to for you to shoot me an email. But then, even though their feedback, we actually have to prioritize it, based on the severity and whatnot, and the demand, because our next 6 months is going to heavily focus on the SSIS on Azure for the whole team, right? In terms of making sure that we got to GA, we deliver the third-party support, we have more regional support. Like, so there are a whole bunch of things that we have to do to bring these SSIS on Azure services to GA readiness. Okay, so this is our top priority. And then after that, and beside that, then there are other work that we have to do, and we have to just prioritize between. Like, I give you like one example. The what is it called? The power, the mashup engine, the Power Query, yeah, the PQ as a source. Okay. Now, I think some of you have heard us talking about it, and a lot of people in the community has asked for the PQ as a source support. We actually have something ready, but then in order to bring it to production, we need to do some more work, but from the priority standpoint, this is also super high priority, but we just haven't had a chance to get to it. But yeah, I would suggest that if you have any feedback, send it my way, and I'll keep it on the list, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Here are a couple more questions. First, can you start fresh on ADF with fields and no data?
Can I start fresh on ADF with what? Sorry.
Fields. I guess just column names and without data.
Well, I'm not sure if I get the question 100%, but you can start ADF by just having a pipeline with no activity. Yes, you can have that, right? Or if your question is about ADF, but I assume if your question is about SSIS, and if you're asking, hey, can I actually start the SSIS on Azure with ADF but without using ADF? I think the answer is yes, right? Because as I showed you on like in the presentation earlier, you can actually provision SSIS without really using ADF, because the SSIS is just a capability under ADF, right? But then you don't really need to build like anything on ADF in order to use SSIS, because we make the experience seamless and hide a lot of ADF concept for you, so that once you provision it, you can execute the packages using SSMS. You can deploy the packages using SSMS. You can monitor the packages using SSMS. So you don't really need to use ADF. But of course, if later on you want to say, hey, I need to learn the new stuff, I need to figure out like how to use ADF, I need to see how can I utilize ADF more, then yes, you can use ADF portal to achieve the same thing.
Yeah.
Not sure if I answered the question clear, but yeah, that's kind of my best shot.
Yeah, he got it. He got it.
Okay, got it.
I think Joseph, you had another question. It says a type of shell if you could. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Can you reword that question again? He just typed.
So what? Yeah, while Joseph is typing, I just want to add one more comment to this group. We are, as I mentioned, the SSIS on Azure is in public preview right now. Okay, and we actually see quite a lot of good usage on it. Lots of customers been using it right now already. So it's a pretty good first step. But then my team is actually working with a lot of customers, and we also continue to look for new customers that work with us closely. So if any of you here are interested in lifting and shifting your packages to the cloud, you want to share your feedback so that your feedback can be addressed by us immediately, and so that you won't get blocked, or if you want more hand-holding support for using SSIS on the cloud, please shoot me an email. And we can talk, because right now we are working with approximately 30-40 customers, pretty large customers, but then we are greedy. We want more customers, and if you are like if your company really want to lift and shift your packages to the cloud, you want to test it out, you want to POC it, please let me know, and we can help you out or work answers more questions for you, right? Because this is a good timing, right? Because we are still in public preview, so a lot of things we can still work very closely with our customers. So I just want to offer that for all of you guys. So my email, jwong@microsoft.com. So shoot me an email if you do have that interest.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions. The first one is, can you scale up and down on the cloud?
Yes. So one of the screen that I was showing was that you can actually change the node. Now, of course, because this is as I mentioned, the SSIS on Azure is a dedicated node. Okay, so it's only dedicated to you. So you have to basically choose what node size you want and the node number, right? So you can, when you provision the service, you'll be asked to select the machine type and the number of node, but you can always change that yourself. Okay, we don't do automatic scale up and down at this point, because maybe later on we will consider that, but because it's actually involved more complexity and whatnot. So at this point, it's a menu scale out and out, scale up and down. But we are actually looking into how we can make it more automatically. But you can do it, yeah.
All right. And so another one is, can you take testers with small data sets?
Can I take tester with a small data set?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, you mentioned that you guys need testers, right? If they have, if the customers have less, smaller data sets, does that matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like so again, this is a public preview. So you have to provision the service yourself, right? And then get the things up and running. And what I'm offering is that during, like, when you're using it, if you face any issues, we can work very closely with you. We can answer a question like more like 24/7 kind of type of interaction, right? But then it's not really like a test program per se, where we ask you to test it or not, because we actually have gone through the private preview and we've gone through a lot of customer validation. Right now it's like a public preview, and so it's publicly available to everyone. Okay, so today anyone in this call can go try it out, tomorrow morning first thing. It's just that if you're interested in working with us more closer, I'm more than happy to work with you. If you hit any issues of provisioning, or if you hit any issues about setting up VNet and all that, we can talk about that. But in exchange, I need to understand your company scenario. What is your company like? How your company plan to move, and we can have a discussion, because different company live and ship strategy and approach may be different. So I think that actually is very interested to discuss before you plan for doing that. So
okay, sounds good. Yeah. Joseph mentioned that he's gonna email you future questions, and I appreciate you and answering all his questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's all we have. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for taking the time and share your knowledge on the SSIS 2017. And I learned a lot myself, and I'm pretty sure everybody else feels the same. And thank you so much. And
thank you for you guys to stay up late in the US time zone, and really appreciate your passion and time for attending this.
yeah, so if you could, well, do you mind to share your slides deck so that I can post it on our website?
I can share it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and also the new features for the SQL Server 2017 engine, or
okay,
the features, whatever, so that I can post it on our website. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sounds
by
good.
the way, Jimmy, so do you have I think you have also the link to the SSIS blog to talk about the new things and how to get into the new product things, right? I remember SSIS have the blog, or was a new feature.
Yeah, the blog.
Yeah. Can you also attach that kind of information so we can post together?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's not here. Okay, okay. Yeah, I will send it out as well for the blog. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Jimmy. And take care. I
Okay,
heard
thank
you
you all.
coughing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I got some cold. That's why my voice is actually a bit
Sorry
weird.
to hear that.
That's
Me
okay.
too.
We totally understand.
Yeah.
All right,
Um,
you guys have a good night.
yeah,
Okay. Everybody
You
is
have
thank
something?
you.
safe. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. And I will post the recording on our website, and you know, once I got the slides from Jimmy, I'll post it as well. Thank you everybody for attending this webinar, and hopefully to see you next month.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.